Welcome everybody for my first dungeon guide for Bless Online. I will show you the first dungeon that you're going to be doing once you reach level 45, and that is Migra Turris. The name might change on the Western servers, but this is the translation that we have on the Japanese server. Now this dungeon is located here at the Raven Tower. It is also where you will be finishing up your story quest. You can also access this dungeon through the dungeon finder. You will want to do the normal version, even though it says level 43. But this is the first dungeon you should be doing. It will drop you purple gear that is for level 45. And it is advised that you are level 45 before you start doing this dungeon. Now a little disclaimer before we head into the dungeon. I am playing on the Japanese server and I have a ping of around 260 to 300. And we're also still playing with the old combat system, so what you're seeing here in terms of combat is definitely not representative of the final version that we will be getting for the Western release. If you head over to their Steam page, you can actually see the rework of the combat that they have already been doing. They have some pretty cool highlights of the combat there, so you should check that out. But either way, I think the mechanics of bosses are not going to change, so I think it's fair to make a dungeon guide for this dungeon already, and nothing too major should change in that regard, so this guide should help you to clear the dungeon with no problem whatsoever. Alright, so let's head right in and have a look at the first boss. Alright, so here we are at the first boss, the Dimension Gate General, and he will be spawning behind you once you clear this entire bridge of trash, including the Dimension Gate. His most frequently used ability is this line AoE that he will target a random non-tank member with. If they get hit, they will receive a moderate amount of damage, and they will also have a weak bleed applied to themselves, which can be cleansed. Make sure that your group is split out a little bit so that only one member will be targeted at a time, and it will make it a lot easier for that person to dodge the attack. For a second ability, the boss will knock back a random player, place a small circle on them, and after a short delay, he will stun that person, run over to them, and do a massive hitting AoE attack on them. In order to survive this one, your entire group has to stack on that person to split the damage, and if the tank is not targeted, he will also be able to block it to reduce the damage by another 80%, and then he will take almost no damage from this ability at all. And that's pretty much it for this boss already. I'll now let the fight run unedited again, so you can just have a look at the boss. And I'll leave up an annotation for you to skip over to the next one if you wish to do so.
I'm gonna get closer so we can run faster to him.
Mage damage single target is so much better than Berserker.
Well, I mean, it's a single target DPS.
Yeah, I guess, but...
Is it really way better?
Yeah,
it's more fun to play.
Way better. Like my fire explosion
It's
is
on me.
for 14k. I don't have gear. And it's so easy to play. It's like you would have to be retarded in order to die on it.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah,
Just
that's okay.
remember.
That's okay.
It's on me again.
I mean, obviously it's different if somebody forgets to block.
I mean, you could just blink. I just can't roll.
And let everybody else die, that's not smart.
Oh, I was more referring to the AoE on the firebombs.
Yeah. Then it's the tornadoes that's flying around. That could be a problem.
It's gonna be on me, but we can just kill him. Please.
On DPS.
Thank you. Alright, here we are at the second boss, the Master of Seduction. Her main ability is this one you just saw. It's a red circle AoE that she will place on the ground and it will last throughout the entire fight. So you want to make sure to pull her to the side of the room and then just run around the room so that even if you have low DPS, you will maximize your time on her without running out of space. So every time she does the skill, you just want to move backwards as the tank, pull her out of it, and then continue DPSing as normal. The second ability of hers you just saw, it's a cleave area in front of her. As the tank, simply move through her, and that's pretty much it for that ability. Her next ability is a life drain. She will target a random party member, stealing their health and restoring a large amount for herself. So make sure to bring healing reduction skills, as for example the penetrating strike on Berserker or the healing reduction that the Guardian can bring. And then she has one last skill, and that is that she will seduce random party members, pull them into her, and make them unable to cast any skills for a certain amount of time. If she does this while the pool is up, simply try to heal through it as best you can, and then move out of it as soon as you're able. And that's pretty much it for this boss already, so I will just let the rest of the boss fight run, and then I'll see you guys on the third boss. Are you like a melee mage now?
Oh, I can't move.
Oh. Melee mage would be way more fun now.
Yeah, probably more challenging. Because I think why she pulls me all the time. Probably.
Targeting the weakest link.
Probably. Like, probably it's a mechanic that she pulls one with lowest HP.
Well, she never pulled in the one, did she?
Yeah, she does.
Oh.
Because I outrange her sometimes.
I guess we're gonna kill her.
And still.
And here we are at the third boss. His first ability that he will always cast right at the start is this bullseye that you just saw. To avoid it, simply either stand in between the damage zones or use one of your iframes. If you get hit by this ability, you will take a lot of damage, potentially one-shotting squishier targets, and additionally you will get knocked up into the air. His next two attacks are a big cleave that you can see here that does a little amount of damage, and one very small cleave that he does here that does a lot of damage, so even as a tank you will want to dodge out of that attack. And now we come to the main mechanic of this boss fight that will start shortly after you start the fight. The boss will say one of two things: either if you want to live, stop, or if you want to live, dance. Either of these instructions come with a corresponding buff on the boss: purple for standing still and orange for moving. Failing to follow these instructions will put a bleeding debuff on you that will do a moderate amount of damage for as long as you're not following them. The debuff does not apply instantly, so even if you have to be moving, you can still stop for just a second to use an ability, then you stutter step a bit, and then you keep on moving without taking any damage. Additionally, throughout the fight, the boss will either root a random player when they have to be moving, or fear a random player when they have to be standing still. So make sure to have a CC break ready to get out of those abilities as fast as possible so you can keep following his instructions. And that's pretty much it for this boss fight. I'm now going to let the fight run itself again, and I'll see you guys on the fourth boss. Waiting for next.
Resing.
Stand still. Oh, that's perfect. It's sleeping. Nah, I might as well switch to it. It's gonna hurt, isn't it? Okay, screw this. I'm just gonna move. Next thing. Move. Still, stand. Or the other way around. And here we are at the fourth boss, the Impudent Barlock. You want to tank this boss at the side of the room where we are standing, inside this little corner next to the stairs. That is because throughout the fight there will be tornadoes spawning that will do a lot of damage, and they will not come over here quite as often. The two main attacks of this boss are a 3-way attack with his whips that you can see here, and a flame breath where he moves backwards and then does a very strong hitting attack that you have to move out even as the tank. So make sure to face the boss away from the group so they don't get hit by that. The next attack is a two-phased AoE. He will start out with a donut and then follow it up with an AoE around him. For the donut one, you simply stand close, and after that you have your tank run to the group to block for them to reduce the damage by 80%. Starting at around 50%, the boss will gain 2 new abilities. The first one is this line pattern that he will jump in the air and then do a lot of damage if you happen to stand inside of it, so make sure to just move out of it. The second one is a cast that he will attempt to cast on a random player in the party that will do a lot of damage if it goes through, but it can be interrupted, so make sure to run an interrupt skill on one of your players. I'll now let the fight run from around 50% of the boss, and I'll see you guys on the last boss.
I think the thing that annoys me most about the Berserk is that you always have to correct your position.
It's just, especially on these big bosses, yeah, you move in way too far.
Yeah.
You move in way further than you have to. It's really annoying.
Yeah, they changed that with the combat rework. I mean, they probably should be aware of it, so... Would make Berserker like 100 times more enjoyable.
I mean, they could just make it that it doesn't animation lock you as much as it does now, and it'll be fine. Like he just does the X swing and you can still move during it. That would give Zerker definitely a lot more strength, but... And here we are at the last boss, the Lord of Fire. One of his abilities you see here is to stomp in front of him. Again, 3 lines of fire. Doesn't do that much damage, but make sure to tank him facing away from the group. Secondly, he has an AoE that he either does close around him with 11 meter radius, or a donut that he does with 14 meter radius. So as a ranged, make sure to stand around 12 to 14 meters away from him, and then you will never get hit by either one of those. As a melee, just try your best to dodge through them. Throughout the fight, the boss will cast a skill called Evil Spirits of Flame. This has to be interrupted, because if not, he will summon 4 spirits that seek out random party members, and once they reach them, they will do a lot of AoE damage around them. After the boss has casted this skill for the first time, a small spirit will start spawning in set intervals randomly around the room and will try to reach the boss. The spirit has to be killed before it does so, as it will else buff the boss, resulting in him doing a lot more damage for a short period of time, and he will additionally do a massive AoE that will do a lot of damage and knock everyone back. This spirit can be CC'd, so make sure to make use of that in case it comes too close to the boss. 2 times throughout the fight, once at 350,000 HP and once at 130,000 HP, the boss will jump into the air and prepare to destroy the entire platform. Your entire group needs to run to the blue light that appears as fast as possible to not get one-shot by this ability. It can also not be iframed, so make sure to get to the blue light. The wild spirits of flame can still spawn while the boss is doing this attack, so it is ideal to wait for one of these spirits to spawn, kill it off, and then push the boss to the exact HP so that he does the ability without one of those spirits spawning. I will now let the boss fight continue from this onwards, and that brings us pretty much to the end of this video. Thanks so guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out my stream on twitch.tv/aritv. And if you liked it, or if you have any questions, just hop into the chat there and just ask away. I'm always happy to answer them. See you guys next time.
This guy who asked about mage still in the chat.
I don't know.
Because I guess one thing that's annoying is that once you burst this down, you don't have good skills for a few seconds.
Okay.
It's not like Ranger who has like constant DPS output.
Easy.
But not really, I'm waiting for my energy to get back up again. And cooldown.
That doesn't work.
Okay, res.
Yeah, I guess for science.
A good sacrifice, yeah. Flame on the other side.
Oh, here.
Oh my god, it evaded my stun. Are you kidding me?
I was
Oh.
outside!
For me, you were in.
What are you gonna need to kill the kings?
Yeah.
Spirit.
Bird where?
Ah, too late.
On him. I don't think he got it. Yeah, he did.
Got
he
it.
did.
You got it.
Yeah, you can do that.
You can do this.
Like legit, I'm already at the end of my roll and I still get hit by it. Paladin.
Oh, once again.
I assume you need that, right?
Yeah, I need a better rune.
Right.
What runes do Palace put in?
Spell power, defensive, like I don't know. I don't know which rune is which. I just check once I see which one is available. And then if it's shit, I don't like it.
Yeah, but which runes do paladins want? Is it just spell power?
Well, depends. You can have multiple sets for multiple things. Like, I guess for
But
healing.
spell power increases your healing.
Yeah.
Alright. So spell